Am I the a-hole for turning away a young child for my son's birthday who bullies him? Excuse the title. I figured blunt was the best method here. My son just turned 8. We had a birthday party for him Saturday. He invited some friends from class, including Kyle. I did not know Kyle was cousins with this other boy in their class, Josh, but Josh has been horrible to my son for a while now. The poor kid has gone through a lot. His baby sister died, then his dad leaves him and his mom. My son has a baby brother, and he has both me and my husband, his dad, still in one home. So he has become a target for Josh's hurt and anger. It started off when they went to virtual learning last September. My son would say things about Josh. I spoke to the teacher and she said she was doing everything to correct Josh and protect my son. And then in May, their school decided to test out going back to in-person learning all day. While there, Josh was nasty to my son and made the entire month a living hell for my son, and I was on the school's ass about it. I put in for a class transfer but was denied because they were dealing with it. When they returned to school a few weeks ago, Josh was still targeting my son. So anyway, Kyle's mom showed up to the party Saturday with Josh. I was confused and asked what was going on. She explained he was her nephew, etc., etc., and she was hoping it would help everyone if he was included since everything going on. I said no way, that he was not invited, and given the way he treats my son, he was not coming in. She argued with me, but I stood firm. She and I got along well before this, which is why her being his aunt shocked me, because you would expect it to come up when she knew about the situation. But now she's saying I was an a-hole to a little boy, and should have known kindness and understanding. My son freaked out when he saw Josh at our house. I'd asked if he was staying, and he was so relieved he wasn't. Am I the a-hole here? I feel bad for the kid, but feel my only loyalty is to my son. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. For starters, it was very presumptuous of her to show up with a +1 when she was not given a +1. She also put you in a position where you needed to choose to turn away a kid who is having a hard time, or force your son to put up with his tormentor in his own home. Neither choice is going to be the right one, and the onus is on her for forcing that on you. This is the best way I've ever seen this written. Excellent, thought-out response. Hope you're not the a-hole. I'm sorry everyone was even put in this position to begin with. It wasn't helping anything. Accepting the child into the party would teach him that actions don't have consequences, and refusing him just adds fuel to the fire. This was a no-win situation that you were forced into. Not the a-hole, but get the police involved instead of the school. You'll see results faster. Would that work? Surely with such young children their hands are tied, figuratively. Not an expert on this at all, hence why I'm asking. Not with the type of torment my son deals with. Varies a lot depending on where you are. I don't think you are the a-hole for saying no, but I think it's a missed opportunity. Turning him away put a bigger target on your son's back, although showing up on your door with him was a jerk move from the aunt. Including him would have given you the opportunity to see their interactions, and see if this relationship could be salvaged. Plus, you're there to monitor if things don't go well. I've had my son invite kids who were horrible to him over to our house, helped them find some common ground and got them to be friends. No more bullying. This kid is obviously going through a lot in his life and is handling it how kids do, by acting like an a-hole. Extending him some kindness will go further in this case. I have to disagree. It's his son's home. His home should be a safe space. He was freaking out when Josh showed up, and if Opie had let Josh stay seeing her son in distress, we would have jumped down her throat for refusing to protect her child at his home. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for airing dirty laundry at a family party? I cut my mom out of my life last year. Our relationship was broken beyond repair years ago. The short story is she and my dad broke up when I was a baby. When I was 2, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and he fought to stay alive and survived until 2 months before my 7th birthday. My mom resented the hell out of him. She said he should have let go so I could have loved another man as dad and not be weighed down by my love for him. The first time she said it, I was 10, and her husband told her that I had told him I didn't want or love him, and he would never be my dad. She did not like hearing that, and ranted to me about how selfish my dad was, and said that he destroyed both our lives. Because it meant she always had to watch me suffer, and push away a man who would be a wonderful father if I allowed it. She said it 7 more times after, and I remember each one. Her saying that is the reason I'm done with her. My aunt's birthday was 3 weeks ago. I showed up for my aunt and avoided my mom. But she sought me out, asked me if we could talk, and I said no. She told me she deserved more than I gave her, that her husband deserved more than I gave him, that they were my parents and I was treating them like strangers. I just told her to buzz off. Things escalated and I ended up telling a room full of people that I would never forgive her for calling my dad selfish for wanting to be with me, to survive long enough for me to remember him. I told her my life would have been better with him than with her, and that I had no desire to reconcile, so she needed to just leave me alone and forget I existed. I apologized to my aunt for the outburst, but she understood. My mom tried to follow me afterward, and said I made a scene at someone else's party and it was a childish way to behave. My uncle, married to aunt, was also pissed that I was so vocal. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If your mom is so disturbed by people knowing what she said, it's because she knows it's messed up. Also, you apologized to your aunt. That is not like you planned it. So you're in the clear to me, even if her husband is upset. But that's out of love if it makes sense. Not the a-hole. Yeah, it was mom who caused a scene here. Opie was just nailing the coven on it. Not the a-hole. If anything, you actively tried to avoid a scene. And it sounds like your mom pursued you until she got one. Sounds kind of like an intentional manipulation of the situation on her part so that the family would take sides. Yes, mom figured he has to talk to me now. And what's he going to do about it? Well, she found out. Good for Opie. Everyone sucks here. Let me be clear that I don't think you're to blame for your relationship with your mom. And from what you've said, I think your feelings are completely justified. Your mother said some really harsh things, and she's really making it about her. She's the one being selfish. That said, maybe you picked the wrong venue to unleash on her, because you essentially made a birthday party about you. And also, you're the one who had to do damage control. Mom followed Opie around though. How is being badgered and not having backup Opie's fault? Next story. Am I the a-hole for siding with my stepdaughter's dad against my wife and exposing her lie? I, male 37, have been married to my wife Regina for 3 years. And I have a 16-year-old stepdaughter named Becky. She's the loveliest and has the most generous heart. Her dad, Regina's ex-husband, Brandon, is a nice dude, and we get along just fine due to the fact that we see each other often, and also because Becky joins us for activities which is always exciting. However, Regina just hates Brandon and always pushes me to have bigger involvement in Becky's life than him, which is illogical since he's her dad before I came along, but that doesn't mean I'm not doing my best to be a father figure to her. So, Becky's sweet 16th birthday was days ago. Brandon couldn't attend due to work, but he came over and gave Regina the gift he brought for Becky, which was an expensive bracelet, and asked her to hold on to it till Becky's birthday party to give it to her, and say it was from her dad. Regina said okay, and he left. I was sitting nearby when they had this conversation. Regina then said she was planning on telling Becky that the bracelet her dad got her was from her. I said no, that's wrong. And it's fair to Brandon and Becky if she ever finds out that Regina lied about the bracelet being bought by her. She said she won't find out, but I firmly stated if she tried this, I'll shut her down and tell Becky the truth. She gave me an I dare you look and went about her day. The party came, and when Becky started opening gifts, Regina handed her the bracelet and told her she bought it for her. I was shocked, as I didn't think she'd actually go through with her plan. Becky then asked about her dad's gift, and I flat out told her he already sent her this bracelet, and that her mom lied about buying it when it was Brandon who bought it. My in-laws and Becky's friends were stunned. Becky asked Regina to confirm, but Regina lashed out at me and denied till I showed them the receipt that came with the box, and it was under Brandon's name. Regina threw it, but I retrieved it from the trash. Becky started arguing with Regina and left the room crying, and the party was pretty much over. I literally got yelled at by Regina and her parents, calling me awful for causing drama and accusing Regina of theft and exposing her in front of Becky and her friends. Regina guilted me for not playing along and siding with Brandon against her, and she told me to stop advocating for this guy like we were buddies. I said poor guy did nothing wrong and did deserve to be alienated from his daughter. Becky hasn't spoken to Regina ever since. It is waiting for her dad to come to visit, and Regina isn't talking to me, but me and Becky are good. Am I the a-hole? Did I mess up? Time to answer some questions / add more information. 1. Regina says my friendship with Brandon is weird. It always seemed to be looking for a reason to start an argument between me and him. But he's a good guy. 2. My sister-in-law told me this rivalry Regina has started when Brandon's now wife came into the picture. But most fights are between Regina and Brandon, not his wife. 3. The reason for Regina and Brandon's divorce is, according to Regina, is about infidelity on Brandon's part. Not sure about this, but it's what I've been told by her and in-laws. Not a-hole. After reading this, I seriously question why you would be with someone like Regina. If I were OP, I would definitely be doubting Regina's accounts for her past marriage, their reasons for their divorce, and pretty much everything else she told him. Not a-hole. Regina is. She will never find out. Does she think Brandon will never ask Becky if she liked the bracelet he got her? Your wife is a piece of work. This is a good question. But because Regina's lied about stuff in the past, she was probably counting on he said versus she said type of scenario to make Brandon out to be a liar. I've seen the scenario play out several times before, and I know how it ends. You're the a-hole, because you could have solved this before it became a problem. I know you wanted to give your wife the benefit of the doubt, but from your other replies, you have known for a while now that Regina will make up lies about Brandon. You knew she was going to lie, and she told you she was going to lie. By letting the situation play out, you exposed to Becky's friends to the fact that her own mother would lie to her face. She must be so embarrassed that they know that. And while she doesn't blame you, you could have quietly called Brandon and said, "Look, Regina's planning on taking credit for your gift." Call Regina. Say you changed your mind and give it to her before the party while in FaceTime or Zoom or something. Then he gets credit. And no dirty laundry is aired out publicly, and there's no issues with you and your wife. The kid is old enough to see what her mother is capable of. It was a hard moment for sure, but she saw who her mother is. He could have waited until after the party to tell the truth and minimize the impact on the party. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for unloading in therapy in front of my younger half-siblings? Me, my dad's wife, his wife's sons, and their 3 kids together are all in family therapy. I'm 17 female. My dad decided family therapy was the way to go because I refused to integrate into the family when I moved here 2 years ago following my mom's death. My dad moved away from me after he and my mom decided to divorce for good. They were on and off until I was 5, and then he just up and moved away one day. The next time I saw him, which was 5 months later, he was living with his wife. Her sons are a year older and younger than me respectively, and they thought it would be great, and that it would be so easy to make a family out of kids as young as us. But I was bitter. My dad was gone. He used to show up to pick me up from school on Fridays, and he would take me to computer coding for kids. And then he was gone. I saw him a few weeks every year, and he called, but it never sat right with me that he left me for them, or even that he left to escape my mom. He could have lived closer, 1 or 2 hours. Instead, he moved 32 hours away. Dad always knew I resented him, and he would tell me not to. We fought a few times because I didn't make the effort to bond with the boys, or then his kids with his wife. And when she tried to get close to me, I would tell her I was there to see my dad, and not her. I told him he should move back if he wanted things to get better. Then my mom died unexpectedly. She had struggled with some issues for a while, but I thought things were okay. So he moved me out to him, and told me it was our chance to get our relationship back on track. But I held it all in, all the anger and bitterness. They started therapy almost 2 years ago, but I didn't want to be there, not with them. The last week it all came out. The therapist told me that if I wanted to leave, I should wait outside. Dad told me to sit down and take part because that's what they were all there for, to make our family work. And I snapped. I unloaded every single thing that session. 40 minutes of me saying how much I hated my dad for leaving, how this wasn't my family, that I didn't care about his kids, stepkids, or wife, that it was about him and me. And when he left me behind for them, he sealed the fact I would never want a single thing to do with whatever family made after leaving me. It was intense. I cried. I raged. And when it was over, I was piled on by my dad, his wife, and her oldest son for saying all that in front of the younger kids. Then my dad told the therapist we weren't going back because he didn't have a freaking clue what he was doing. These last few days, he has been different. All attempts to bond are gone, and now he's just furious I said all that in front of 3 kids under the age of 10. And his wife goes between mad and hurt that I don't care about her, even though she tried to be a family member to me. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. That is what therapy is for. He forced you to participate, which you did. It does sound like you have a lot of stuff to work out, though. Are you going to therapy on your own? You might benefit a lot from that. No, I'm not. He didn't want me to work on solo therapy and give nothing to family. I'll look into therapy once I'm out on my own. That way, can't decide anything about it. It'll be all on me. Maybe after this last family therapy session, he has evolved on the individual therapy front. You should ask. He's done trying now, I think. Hearing exactly how I feel, I think we'll be writing it out until I leave, which is exactly what I want. Not stay home. That's what he wanted when he brought you to therapy. It was a bad idea to have a huge group of people in a therapy session like that. You need to talk to a therapist one-on-one, and your therapist should have arranged that. You should see if you can go back to therapy on your own. The therapist did make the suggestion a couple of times, but my dad was never on board. He didn't want me putting effort into solo therapy and giving nothing to the group still. I am going to disagree with pretty much everyone here. OP, you're the a-hole. However, your dad and stepmother, to a lesser extent, are also the a-holes. You have admitted that you have no desire to improve your relationships. This is childish and immature. You are 17, not 12. I absolutely believe that you lashed out in therapy to punish your father. You wanted to hurt your stepmom and siblings to punish your father. This is not okay. I'm not saying your feelings are not justified. I am saying you are hurting everyone around you to hurt your father. And in the end, you will be the one regretting it. At least they can all say they tried. You will never have to say that because you never will try. You are so mad at your father that you have gone Armageddon on your entire family and you are proud of it. Be mad at your father forever. But at your age, you need to take responsibility for your own actions. Your behavior towards the rest of your family is atrocious. You do not have to have a relationship with them if you do not want to. However, using your very young siblings as pawns to hurt your dad is disgusting. You do not get to blame your father for that. It is on you, and you will have to live with the consequences. It is time to grow up. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter she can't use her college money on her boyfriend, which caused her to break up with him? Original post. I know the title paints me as the total a-hole, but please hear me out. My 47 female daughter Sarah, 18 female, is a very smart girl. She has a 4.0 GPA. She's valedictorian of her class, and she's just gotten word from her dream college that she has received a full ride scholarship. We have a college fund for her for about $250,000. When we found out about the scholarship, we agreed that we would still give her the money to pay for other things that she would need in college, such as housing, food, etc. Well, she came home yesterday kind of sad. I asked her what was the matter. She said that she was not going to go to college anymore. Apparently, her boyfriend Brian, 19 male, told her not to go anymore. Some background on Brian. His family is very well off, and his parents have never issued discipline on this child. I mean, he is very rude and disrespectful. And although he seems sweet to my daughter when they are alone, she'll complain that whenever they're out with friends, Brian is constantly putting her down and comparing her to Instagram models. Brian is currently enrolled in college, but he has no set course of his future. He's just rolling with the cards, as Sarah says. Some other background info is that my daughter is going to school for marine biology. Well, with what my daughter told me about their conversation, she was telling Brian about her full ride scholarship and how excited she was to finally go to school for marine biology. He has never supported her dream of being a marine biologist and has always told her to go to college for a real job. When he sat her down and told her to not go to college at all, he told her to wait for him here in our town and don't worry about getting a job even, because his parents will support her and that he didn't feel comfortable with her going to college out of state and so far away. He also said that it made him feel unmanly when she has a set course of her future which will give her a good life, while he has none. After she told me what was going on, I didn't make a decision right away, but I knew that I wasn't going to just let my daughter throw away her future like this. She then asked me for her college fund so she could help support Brian's dreams. So I took time to think, and I sat her down today. I told her that she cannot have her college fund to spend on Brian. She started freaking out, asking why, and it was her money, and I asked her to listen. I asked her if she actually could see a serious future with Brian in it. She said nothing the first time, and then started crying. I asked her again more gently this time, and she admitted no while still crying. I pleaded with her to please not throw away her future for someone who can't see herself having a life with. She then nodded and went up to her room for some time to think. From what I've learned, she broke it off with Brian, and he has been calling non-stop, crying and begging to speak to her. I feel very guilty and sort of like an a-hole. Am I? Now for the top comments before reading the update. I know that the title paints me as a total a-hole, but please hear me out. No, it does not. It paints you as a responsible parent. The first thing I thought was, absolutely not. But then I read about halfway into your post and I realized that I was right. You're absolutely not an a-hole. The truth of the matter is that Brian is toxic and abusive. She absolutely loves him, but he clearly doesn't love her because he's willing to wreck her future in order to feel in control. You did the right thing. You're a wonderful parent. At the end of the day, most men will come and go in her life, but you'll always be there. I keep thinking if his family is so rich, he could have moved to where she was going to college. But no, I feel unmanly if I'm not superior to you. Barf. And give me your money. WTF? No. Not a home. She shouldn't throw away her dreams and future for a guy who is so demeaning towards her and won't support her. Who says he would even come back to her even if she waits around for him. She's dodged a bullet. Yeah, 100%. He honestly sounds like he's got the makings of an abusive partner in him, and you've really helped her dodge a bullet. Give her so many cuddles. Your daughter sounds wonderful and deserves so much better. Not a hole. You probably saved her life. For real. I didn't want to be too dramatic, but yes, her life could have been so terrible for years if you hadn't stepped in. I'd go even further and say that it was terrifying Opie even had to step in, and their daughter is still at risk of this. Opie, I'd really suggest sending your daughter to therapy of some kind. It's quite possible this guy has been emotionally mistreating her for a while, and this isn't something you easily get over. You don't go from throwing away my future or dream job and money for a guy to healthy independence in one intervention. This time, Opie could intervene. She's 18 and doesn't have access to all her money yet. But eventually, she will be able to fork over $250,000 if a guy asks her. I don't count out this guy either. If he's got his tentacles in far enough that should give him $250,000, it's likely she'll still go back to him. Don't let him pour abuse over her for hours on the phone either. You can't imagine the things someone like that will say to have her taken back. And now for the update. I know that this has blown up a lot, so I'm going to post an update in the comments since I can't make a post about it. My daughter came to eat breakfast with us this morning before going to school, and her father and I had a talk with her. We told her that we loved her and that we were here for her. She said thank you and that it meant a lot to her for her to have our support. Of course she does, because we will always love and support her. We made sure to tell her that. But I told her that I did not want to ever see Brian again, and she said the feeling was mutual. I told her all of the wonderful messages and comments you guys were sending her, and some of the advice you gave, and she is very grateful. We made sure to tell her that we know it's going to be hard, but to not give in to Brian's pressuring and to block him on everything. She said that she had already done so when she ended things, and showed us her phone as proof, which she didn't need to do. We weren't going to force her because we trust her. She went off to school and I called our phone provider to change our home phone number, and my daughter's phone number, which I got her approval for. She called me while at school lunch, crying and begging me to come and pick her up. I was very confused as to why she couldn't just drive home in her car when she told me that Brian showed up during her lunch, and him and some of his friends are blocking her from getting to her car, and she is scared. I told her I was on my way, and before I left the house, I called the police non-emergency line and had them send officers over. Since the police station was closer to our school than our house, they got there first, and when I got there, Brian was in the back of a police cruiser. What happened was the cops pulled up, and the rest of his friends ran off, but Brian refused to leave because he believed he was doing nothing wrong. And when the cops asked him to leave the property since he was not a student at the school, he got aggressive and attacked one of them, and was going to be sent to the station. They asked me and my daughter if it was possible that we could go to the station to answer some questions, but that it was not mandatory. I told them no, and that I just wanted to get my daughter home, since she was still a crying mess. We got home, but I sent her dad a text message about what had gone down. and I left work to head to the police station, very angry. He came home and told us that he was planning on pressing charges against Brian for harassment and that he wanted my daughter to file a restraining order. I told my husband to calm down, since our daughter is going through such a hard time right now, and that when she is ready, we will discuss further details. We took our daughter out to dinner to treat her, which she greatly appreciated since we only really go out to dinner on holidays or super special occasions. So this was a big treat for her. We had another dinner outing planned to celebrate her scholarship, but this was just to cheer her up, and the scholarship dinner will be held at another time. We went home and watched a movie, and then I talked to my daughter about how she would feel about going on a little trip to tour her college town and get away for a while, and she happily accepted. The plan is still in motion, but it's all we have for now. That's all of the updates that I have right now, but if more interesting events unfold, I'll be sure to come back. Thank you all for your amazing advice, and my family greatly appreciates your support. Thank you for taking the time to help us even though we're strangers from the internet. I hope you all are doing as well as possible. Your update is concerning. I'm glad your daughter is doing all right, but Brian's behavior is very concerning. I think you should seriously consider the fact that Brian is a very dangerous person, and I think you need to seriously look at a restraining order. I know you guys are going through a lot right now, but you don't want this escalating, and I really think you should speak to the police and start making a record of what went down and then what happened with the breakup, so that you can protect your daughter. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but this isn't normal, and Brian has some serious issues. It's very scary. Totally agree. I see comments downplaying this because he is only 19. That means nothing. He could still end this girl if so inclined. It has already shown he is violent and entitled and has no respect for her beyond ownership. Plus, his parents have the money to bail him out and get a lawyer who will get him off. And he will be right back at it. I hope Opie goes balls to the wall with every and any legal action that can be taken. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not promising my mom that I won't contest her will and giving her anxiety? To be very clear, I'm not going to contest the will. I'm sure she paid for the best of the best when it came to lawyers, and it seems morally wrong anyway. My mom has a lot of money. I'm talking filthy rich. But she decided about 10 years ago that it will all go to her husband if he is alive or to charity. She wanted it to be very clear in her will that it was not for me or her grandchildren. I'm not going to lie and act like it doesn't bother me. As a parent, I just cannot process her decision, but I do respect that it's hers. Recently, someone randomly brought up that I'd probably contest the will. My mom said I wouldn't because that's so low and disgusting, and that she raised me better. Other family began chiming in that of course I would because who wouldn't? My mom asked me and I just rolled my eyes and told her she'd be dead anyway. I don't know why I'm doing this. Probably just because I feel she's being so ridiculous. That was a few weeks ago, and her husband called and asked me to reach out and talk to her because it's been giving her a lot of anxiety. I said she's being dumb and can figure her own anxiety out. I never made a joke, I never said anything, and this whole situation is dumb. Now for the comments. Not stay home. She made it very clear that you are not a priority in her life or afterlife. Don't let her or her anxiety be a priority to you now. Honestly, I'm surprised she can stand to be in the same room as her mother after she said that. It would be enough for me to go no contact. It sounds like the husband is a stepdad too, since Opie said her mother's husband. Just adds insult to injury. Not stay home. Not stay home. I won't lie. If my parents were filthy rich and they told me they weren't leaving me a dime, I'd be a bit salty about it. I think you've done the right thing by saying you won't contest it, even if you ultimately end up doing so. Filthy rich or not, leaving your kids out of your will is a statement that they don't really matter to you. Mom has every right to do what she wants with her money, but she's filthy rich and doesn't even want to give anything to her grandkids? Yeah, I wouldn't feel great about that either if it was my mom. Not stay home. And of course, her husband wants to make sure you won't be contesting the will. He's the one who stands to benefit from this while her children and grandchildren are being slighted. Well, he'd definitely get it if he was alive anyway, as spouses are the next of kin. But the issue is more of, if he's dead, I'd have some ground to contest it all going to charity. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for sharing a bed with my 20 female brother, 26 male? I know this story may sound absurd, but bear with me, please. So, I'm a college student and I've been living with my boyfriend, 21 male, since last year. I'm attending an out-of-state university, by the way. My brother had some business to do in a nearby city from today till Friday. He decided to take a little detour and arrive at my place on Saturday and spend a weekend with me, then take an early morning flight to his destination on Monday since it's close by. I had a very busy and tiring day prior to his arrival though, so I told him that I was going to leave the door unlocked and he could just come in as I didn't want to be woken up. He was supposed to get to my apartment at around 6 a.m. My boyfriend left on Friday to spend the night at his parents' house because his mom was not feeling well, and he knew that my brother was coming over. My brother arrives on Saturday at around 6:30 a.m. He tries to wake me up, but to no avail. He tells me, "If you're not going to wake up, at least let me get into bed because it's cold and I'm sleepy too." I say okay, and he gets in. We immediately fall asleep. My boyfriend's yelling wakes us up at around 10:30 a.m. He starts saying how this is basically cheating, asking if we hooked up, if we're in an inappropriate relationship, etc. That this is absolutely disgusting and mega inappropriate and other delusional things like that. I tell him that we've always shared a bed while living at home and that this is 100% platonic. He lets me know that we were snuggling under the blankets while sleeping. I tell him, yeah, that's what people do when they share a bed and it's cold. I start to get really angry at him at this point for constantly trying to sexualize me and my brother's relationship. So I tell him that I'm going to spend a weekend with my brother at a hotel. And until I come back, he better learn how to manage this irrational jealousy of his. I'm back at my apartment now, but my boyfriend gives me the cold shoulder. Not stay home. Is he an only child? Just curious. Some people can't understand sibling bonds. Either an only child or siblings who doesn't have a good relationship. Even then, friends cuddle sometimes too. Siblings even more so. I have a nephew whom I live with. We look more like siblings than aunt and nephew. And on a typical free time, we would be on the couch, legs tangled together while I'm on my phone and he on his Switch. It's normal. If he doesn't change his stance on this, you should break up with him. Next thing you know, he's gonna sexualize you and your father's relationship when he gives you a hug and a kiss. Or, God forbid, when he walks you down the aisle. Yeah, he's an only child. Yep, there it is. When you guys speak of the topic again, point that out. Not so harshly, of course. I grew up an only child. I was already 15 when I discovered I had half-siblings, and I understand that there are a lot of things I can never relate to. But I hate it when people say you won't understand because you have no siblings. Because my response would be, then make me understand. You should find out where you two are gonna go after this. Because if he doesn't try, family first. Of course, this is only because you love your family. Otherwise, that's a different story. Your boyfriend has seen too much incest adult materials. It is absolutely okay to snuggle a sibling when cold and in bed. Unless you guys were touching in appropriate places, it wouldn't bother me, on its own, if I were in your boyfriend's place. I was waiting to see this comment. This was my second thought after, WTF is this dude's problem? Not stay home. This is his weird issue. I guess it is privilege too. I mean, it is really like only a few hundred years since every family lived in one room. Less than a few. My father is from 1941, and when he was young, they had an apartment with one bedroom for his parents, him and his sister. They didn't get their own rooms until my grandparents had enough money for a house later. My father was born in the 50s and was one of the 10 in a 3-bedroom house, though they did at least have a boys' room and a girls' room.